This is John Zadak, TV voice of the Cincinnati Reds, and you're up for Late Night Reds Talk.
Hey, what's going on? Welcome into another edition of Late Night Reds Talk Live, part of the Believe Network, sponsored as always by our friends at Bet Online. My name is Nick Kirby. So excited to have you with us tonight. Tim Daniel is off covering college basketball. Maybe not college basketball. It's like some sort of TBT, half college basketball, half pro basketball. But he's doing his thing tonight. But I am joined by my main man, Carlos Guevara. Carlos, what'd you think about the mic'd up pitchers last night for the All-Star game?
I thought that was pretty cool. It's pretty cool for casual fan to kind of see what the pitcher and catcher dynamic is and how hard it is to execute those pitches. And sometimes they miss and sometimes they get away with it. Sometimes they miss, sometimes they don't. So it's pretty cool. But you can kind of tell how winded those guys get. They're not used to having to speak. They're used to speaking in their minds to themselves like that, but not actually saying it and just exerting that extra energy. But I thought it was really, really cool. I think they did a great job with that.
Yeah. Finally did something right with the commissioner's office and the broadcast. So that was cool. All right.
Sorry, real quick, but that's what Colin Cowherd was talking about today. That Fox has done a really good job. They said, "Hey, let's go play baseball in a cornfield." That worked really well, and this kind of stuff they did with the All-Star game. It's been pretty good getting MLB to, broaden the horizon a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, good for them on that. We've got an awesome show tonight. Doug Gray is going to be on here in just a minute. Going to recap the draft. We're going to bug him about the top prospects. Big news today we'll get to in just a minute on that. But let's first say a quick word about our sponsors. Late Night Reds Talk is presented, as always, by our partners Bet Online. They continue to be the number one source for all your betting needs and sports info. Find all the latest odds, news, and sports developments, including Major League Baseball, the latest fighting news, and even next season's early NFL futures. With training camp just right around the corner, BetOnline has opened up odds for team wins, division futures, and, of course, the Super Bowl. So head on over to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus with your first deposit. Just use our promo code BELIEVE to get started, and the bonus will get you right into the action. BetOnline is where the game starts. And we are also proudly presented by our new friends over at Black River Baseball Cards. You can find them over at blackriverbaseballcards.ecrater.com. Baseball cards are back, and Black River Baseball Cards is your number one spot to find the hits. Looking for Joey Votto cards? We have them. Looking for Tyler Stevenson, Luis Castillo, or Barry Larkin cards? Got those too. How about a Reds team lot for a new collector? Of course, we got that. BlackRiverBaseballCards.ecrater.com has everything from vintage cards, color parallels, refractors, autos, relics, rookies, and more. And for Late Night Reds Talk live listeners, Black River Baseball Cards is offering 10% off any order. Just go to BlackRiverBaseballCards.ecrater.com and use the promo code Late Night Reds at the checkout to get 10% off your order. Go follow Black River Baseball Cards on Twitter for more special deals at Black River BC1. So thanks again to Black River Baseball Cards for their sponsorship of Late Night Reds Talk Live. All right, without further ado, let's get him in. This is Mr. Doug Gray. Doug, what's going on?
Just hanging out, ready to talk some baseball.
Yeah.
Thanks, Carlos.
Absolutely. Finally got you on. There's no minor league on at all tonight, right?
None whatsoever. Not even the kids down in the DSL played today, which I was a little bit surprised by that because they played Monday and Tuesday. It just happened to be just a regular off day for them. But yeah, everybody else, well, the Arizona Complex League starts up tomorrow, and everybody else starts up on Friday.
Nice. Well, thanks so much, Doug, for coming on and joining us. I know this is a crazy busy week for you with the draft, but always appreciate your insight. Let's jump right into it. Reds first round pick at 18, Cam Collier, third baseman out of Florida, 17 years old, right, Doug?
Yeah, he followed. I guess you might want to call it the Bryce Harper plan, where he, got his GED early and decided to go play at a junior college so he'd become draft eligible earlier than he would be if he had stayed in high school.
Yeah, and pre-draft rankings had him crazy high. Like he was number 2 in the Athletic Baseball America, the gold standard, had him at 7. First off, Doug, before we kind of get into him and his skill set, why the heck did the Reds get him at 18? Explain that to me.
Well, I mean, we don't really know for sure why he slid down, but the assumption is that, the Reds basically told him pre-draft, probably, allegedly, hey, we'll offer you X amount of dollars to sign with us. And if somebody doesn't draft him by, in the top 3 or 4 for whatever reason, that, maybe he tells those teams, hey, this is how much I want to sign. And if they're not willing to meet that for whatever reason, and, in Major League Baseball, you have draft pool bonus slots. So you can't just spend whatever you want. You have a certain amount of money you're allowed to spend overall. And teams try and come together with deals with guys to try and get them to fall down. And that's probably what happened here. He probably said, hey, we'll just throw a number out. We'll say $6 million to sign. And some teams were like, well, if we're drafting at number 5, that's a little bit more than we're wanting to pay. And so, they passed up on him. And once you get past a couple of spots, a big bonus like that, it's going to cause, a guy to fall a little bit. And the Reds, thanks to their, Nick Castellanos extra draft pick and their small market competitive balance draft pick, they had a lot more money than teams outside of the top, 6 or 7 to work with. So they were able to really, again, I'm just assuming this is what happened, to work their, bonus pool money into getting a guy who was allegedly way better than what they should have had available to them.
So that would just kind of be on a case-by-case basis too with the player, whether they're willing to, have a pick number lower associated with them. Some guys might be like, no, I'd rather just be the higher pick, maybe take a little less money. Kind of work like that at all? Or
I guess it could, but you really can be like, you know what? I'd rather be the number 4 pick and get $1 million less. I don't think any teenager, early 20s guy is really going to think like that. Maybe somebody who, has, let's just take a guy like, Max Scherzer, for example. He's making, $42 million a year, but he's signed on a shorter term deal. So he doesn't have the quote unquote, biggest contract ever, but he kind of does. If you're already made, you're kind of set, you can kind of work that. I'd be really surprised if somebody in the draft were like, you know what, let's take less money just so we can say, oh, we're the number 2 pick instead of the number 17 pick. Doesn't make any sense to me. But I'm an idiot, so who cares?
No, we care. We appreciate your insight on that. Definitely when you see a guy, up in the top 10 going down to 18, you kind of question why that is. And I, knew a little bit, but, didn't have the full picture. So I appreciate that. So tell us about the player. Tell us about Cam, the player.
He's got all the tools you want to see. Defensively, he's probably, going to be a third baseman, maybe a first baseman if he really grows out of the position. So, you're not going to get a ton of defensive value, like if you're a shortstop or center fielder. But, if he plays as projected, he's a quality third baseman. But really, the selling tool here is he can hit. He might have the best hit tool in the entire draft, and he's got plenty of power. He's a guy who, like we said, graduated early, went to play junior college as a 17-year-old. He should have been a high school junior this year, and he was playing junior college baseball. He went and played in the Cape Cod Baseball League against some of the best players, or the best college players in the country. He's just so far advanced for a quote-unquote high school kid, which it's weird calling him that because he go to junior college. But, again, he's younger than most of the guys that sign in January in the international signing period for the Reds. He's just there's a reason he was ranked number 2 by The Athletic. He's got everything you want to see. He's very young, but he seems to get it. His father played in the major leagues for quite a while, so he's got that pedigree that we kept seeing on draft night pop up with the top 4 guys were all sons of former major leaguers. I don't know. He's got it all.
All right. So the most annoying question, I'm sure, to a prospect guy is when can we expect him? I see Bryce Harper. He was up at 19. Could Cam Collier be up here in 2024, 2025? Or are we looking a lot farther than that?
You never know, but I think 2024 will be really pushing it. In 2025, he'll start the season at age 20. That's a really, really fast timeline, even for somebody that is, projected to be, one of the top players in the draft and somebody who's, they're very polished, so to speak. I mean, again, we're talking about a kid who's 17. He's not going to turn 18 until after this season is over. I mean, that's a really, really quick push. But I mean, you never know. I mean, like we saw with, a guy like Ellie De La Cruz, who went from, somebody that even I hadn't heard of, 54 weeks ago. I had no idea who Ellie De La Cruz was. And now he's one of the best prospects in baseball. Weird things do happen like that, but expecting it to happen that quickly, I think you're asking a bit too much. I mean, maybe 2025 at some point, 2026 is more realistic. Again, he'd be 20 and 21 years old at that point.
Where is he going to report to?
I mean, he's not signed yet. Now the signing deadline is August 1st, so it's not like
okay.
We're gonna sit around and wait too long for these guys to sign. I don't think there's any concern about him signing or not. With his age, I think that. Well, I mean, I'm sure he's going to get first assigned to the Arizona Complex League. I don't think they'll push him anywhere else. Again, he's just 17 years old. Everything's a little bit more structured in Arizona than it would be even in a place like Daytona. And they don't have anywhere else to send him other than those two places, I don't think. So I think they'll probably spend time in Arizona. If we look at the way they did things last year, because of the amount of time the guys took off after college or their high school season to the draft, because the draft is so late now, the Reds specifically wanted to be very careful with pushing guys too much after a longer layoff. He probably will play every other day, probably for the first month. And then, there's only going to be 6 or 7 weeks of the season left anyways after he signs. And so I think that they're probably going to keep him in Arizona just because they can handle things a little bit better down there.
All right, very good. Well, Cam Collier, number 1 pick for the Reds. Definitely a very exciting player, and let's root for the best for him. Let's touch on a couple of the other top picks. Sal Stewart. He was the Reds' second pick, the comp pick, as Doug mentioned earlier, for losing Nick Castellanos. If you haven't seen Sal Stewart crushing balls at Coors Field, go to the brand new account, Reds on the Rise. The Reds started an official minor league highlight account, which is really, really cool. Tell us a little bit about Sal Stewart and when is he going to be launching balls out of GABP?
I mean, it's kind of a similar profile to Cam Collier, a little bit lesser across the board. But, you've got, a third baseman, which I know a lot of people kind of freaked out about, like, oh, why are they drafting 2 back-to-back first basemen that are roughly the same age? They'll figure it out, especially this low of a level. They're not concerned about, do we have too many guys to play third base? They'll figure that out. But, he's a guy who's more bat over defense, which again, that's not really a rub on either one of the guys. It's just, they're corner infield guys. But, he's very well perceived to understand the strike zone, good plate discipline, can definitely hit, and he's got power. It's just going to be a matter of waiting around for it because he's a high school kid. He's going to need some time to develop.
So the Reds' first 2 picks, both high schoolers. Do you get any sense that there's anything to that? Was this just they felt these were the best 2 guys? Did you get any sense about that direction at all?
Not really. I think that generally speaking, especially in the first 10 rounds, you're taking the guy that's the top guy on your board that you believe you can sign. Now the draft used to be a lot longer than it is now, and so you probably don't see it too much anymore. But not until you get into the later rounds or teams drafting to kind of just fill needs, even needs in the minor league levels, like they used to when there were 40 and 50 rounds. Generally speaking, you're picking guys that you think you can sign that are the best players on your board.
Very good. And then the third pick, Logan Tanner. Red seemed like always draft a catcher somewhere around this range, and out of Mississippi State, big defensive first guy, right? Bats kind of a hit or miss. Is that what I'm getting at?
Yeah, pretty much. Definitely the defense is ahead of the offense at this point. I'm not as sold on him coming around at the plate as some other people are. But again, as a catcher, you don't have to hit nearly as much as you do anywhere else on the field because hitting is such a secondary asset that teams are looking for out of the catching position. And when it comes to defense, I mean, he's the best defensive catcher in the draft. And I mean, one scout I talked to said he's got the best arm of any catcher in the last couple of drafts. You really, really like that. Now, the thing that concerns me a little bit, I mean, he did play at a relatively big time school, but he never hit over 287 in college. What's that going to translate to when you're facing professional pitchers every day? I don't know. The defense better be good. That's kind of where I'm at. But as I've said it on social media, I've said it in writing before. The Major League Baseball draft isn't like the NFL or the NBA draft. In Major League Baseball draft, if you get one everyday regular, not even like all-star caliber, above average, if you get a regular everyday starting player or starting pitcher and one bench guy / reliever out of the draft, you did better than most of your counterparts. Expecting to get multiple big leaguers that aren't more than up and down guys out of one draft, you're asking a lot. It does happen, but it's a really big ask to do that consistently, because it really doesn't happen that way on a regular basis for one organization.
Did you get any insight into Tanner in his drop between his, I'm assuming his junior and senior, or is that his sophomore and junior season? 2021, he had a 907 OPS. 2022 is down to 815, 15 home runs down to 7. About close to the same amount of plate appearances. Did you get any insight into what the drop-off was?
As far as I know, there wasn't really any injury issue between the sophomore and junior year. His slugging percentage dropped off 100 points. I noted that in the write-up that I did on. I didn't see any information about an injury. Talking with the scouting director, he didn't mention anything about an injury. I mean, it's just one of those things. I don't know. Sometimes, in Major League Baseball, the guy that that has a good rookie year, they talk about, sometimes they'll have that sophomore slump. Well, maybe that's what this was, but it was a junior slump.
Okay, very good. All right, and then kind of looking here at the rest of the draft, anyone else after the first 3 picks for the Reds stand out to you, or a name you really think we should keep our eyes on?
So I think that the biggest guy that to really keep an eye on, because he came after the 10th round, and that's kind of in rounds 11 through 20, you kind of get into this weird situation with the bonus pool money. You can sign guys up to $125,000 after that, and it doesn't count towards your overall bonus pool. But if you spend more than $125,000, all the money over that goes towards your bonus pool. The guy that the Reds drafted in the 11th round, Ben Broody, he rated way higher than in the 11th round. I think that he's a guy that they would like to sign if they've got any extra money laying around after they get some of their other guys signed. He would be a big get for them if they can sign him. I think that it's going to come down to what they can get Cam Collier and Sal Stewart for, because those are going to be the big money guys. And I think that Collier's probably going to take more than the $3.6 something million that his slot is allotted for. If they've got any extra money, he's the guy.
All right, very good. All right, let's move on to the current crop. Big news of the day was Elly De La Cruz has been promoted to Chattanooga. Some rumblings of that before the Futures game. Of course, De La Cruz and Andrew Abbott performed in the Futures game. Let's start off with De La Cruz. I don't know why we'd start anywhere else. Tell us about the De La Cruz promotion. Any other insight into De La Cruz as he kind of moves on to Chattanooga?
I mean, I was surprised that they didn't do that thing that they often do at the Futures game, and they did with a few guys this year too. After his loan at bat in the Futures game, because it's only a 7-inning game for God who knows why. They didn't announce that he was being promoted there. I feel like that we kind of all knew it was going to happen. We were just kind of waiting for the official word. What else can you ask from a guy? He hit over 300. He slugged 610. He's got 20 steals, 28 stolen bases. He's only one of 2 guys in minor league baseball right now that are in the 2020 club. I mean, he does everything, and he makes it look so effortless. Somebody asked me the other day, like, is he the most impressive, the best prospect you've seen? And the only guy that, at least from a position standpoint, that I can even come close to comparing it to is Jay Bruce. And I know that some people were sitting there scratching their head a little bit because Jay Bruce didn't quite turn out to be as good as number 1 prospect in baseball Jay Bruce was expected to be, which, it's kind of a shame given how good Jay Bruce's career turned out to be in the big leagues. But, Ellie's got better tools than that. The production just isn't quite the same yet. And that's only because, we're still in July of Ellie De La Cruz's, first full season. Whereas, when it was Jay Bruce's big breakout season, at the same age, mind you, he got to Double-A at midseason and they just tore the cover off the ball, and they promoted him to Triple-A within 2.5 weeks. And then he finished out the season there hitting like 360 with power. So, I mean, I think that would be asking a lot of Ellie De La Cruz, but he's just he's a special kind of prospect that doesn't come around too often.
Yeah, finally got to see one game of Ellie De La Cruz. Ended up being his last game with Dayton. What are the chances of that here up in the Cleveland area? I would agree. Very effortless. That's a great way of describing him. Just the way he runs the bases and just a massive, massive dude. I'm interested to see, and I'm curious your thoughts on this, Doug. From just my one game getting to see him up close. Obviously the tools just they fly off the charts. It's so easy to see. Did have a couple pretty rough at bats. I don't know if some of that's he's just been beating the crap out of all these poor pitchers, or if it's rough. I'm curious. Do you expect that maybe he's going to struggle some at Chattanooga? I know he has about a 30% strikeout rate. Do you kind of see maybe there'll be an adjustment period here? Maybe this will be the first time he kind of struggles in a while.
I mean, I just want to start out preface this. He struggled last September. He went through the first couple of months of the season last year and just tore the cover off the ball. Last September, he really got into a big slump. So it won't be the first time that he struggles, but I don't think that it's a realistic expectation for him to continue on the same path, at least right out of the gate in Double-A, because pitchers are better there. Double-A is the level where you start seeing, I don't want to say every pitcher that can locate a breaking ball, but a lot more can. And for a guy that struggles a little bit with, strike zone awareness, reading spin, whatever the issue is going to be that leads to their higher strikeout rate, that's kind of something that they need to learn to adjust. Now, with Ellie De La Cruz, we started to see that the last 6 or 7 weeks in Dayton. I think there was a stretch between like mid-May and the first week of June where he walked once. And then he walked like 15 times over the next 30 games. He really started to kind of make that adjustment. You could see, where if he faced a good pitcher who would, they'd have their way with him. And it didn't happen often, but, they'd really kind of get him to chase something really off the plate. Well, the next time he came to the plate, they'd try that same thing, and he didn't do it. I think there's always going to be some swing and miss there. I mean, he's 6'5". It does take some time to get the bat through the zone when you've got long levers like that. It's very rare to have a guy that's that big that makes a ton of contact, just because the mechanics of it don't really work as well for guys who's got short arms. But he's been making the adjustment. If you've watched him on a roughly daily basis this year, you can see that, and that's what's really exciting. Is it's not a situation where he's just eating fastballs, and he's just, anytime anybody makes a mistake with a fastball, he crushes it. That's not what's happening here. I mean, he is crushing fastballs, but he is making those adjustments. You've been able to see it if you watch him consistently. So I do think that he is going to, I don't want to say struggle necessarily in Double-A. I think it's going to be more of a challenge for him. But I did like to see that he was making those adjustments before he got the promotion.
The next guy that kind of stands out to me is Connor Phillips. You have him all the way up to number 3 here in your midseason update. I think he was around 14 or something. Most people had him around that range going into the season. He's obviously taking a huge leap for your rankings. What do you see in Connor Phillips? And then he was the player to be named later in the Winker Suarez trade.
Yeah, so I think this is a bit twofold. Number one, I do think that he has improved this year versus where he was when he was acquired. He's throwing a little bit harder on a consistent basis, not really topping out any higher, but just where he's sitting it's up a tick. I really, really like his breaking ball. Now, the one rub against Connor Phillips is that he does struggle at times throwing strikes, and we've really seen that the last couple of starts in Double-A. But I think that part of the jump for him also is that this is just me speaking. I think the farm system's down a little bit. The Reds have had some graduations, which cleared up some spots. But, I think that a lot of the guys that he jumped over, they're just having kind of mediocre, okay-ish seasons.
Okay. The next guy wanted to touch on Brandon Williamson at 5. Kind of had an up and down season. Is that kind of fair to say? I mean, I feel like he's had a rough start to the year, looked good for a while, kind of has struggled a little bit. What's your kind of thoughts on him right now?
I mean, I think you nailed it. I think that it's just been a very inconsistent season for him. Now, I've still got him ranked fairly high because, if you look at everything, you can see where everything's there. And his track record before this season was pretty good. So, I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt, at least for now, that, he's going to figure it out. Now, obviously, this is happening at AA, AAA, and, it's new to AAA this year for him. He did not pitch there previously, so, you're going to have to make some different kind of adjustments there. But, I just, again, I think the farm system is down. 2, some guys ahead of him have graduated. But I do think that you can still see all the pieces that are there that made him a top 100 prospect last offseason.
All right. And then could you see him making a start with the big league club this year?
I mean, I think that it wouldn't be surprising. I think that a big part that could play into that is, are Luis Castillo and Tyler Mahle still Cincinnati Reds on August 5th? If they're not, then, I mean, realistically, Williamson is an injury away, a spot start needed away from getting called up. I mean, AAA isn't exactly overflowing with starting pitching options right now.
Yeah, doubleheader, something like that. Okay. Alan Cerda. This is a guy that's kind of been flying up. Incredible power numbers. The average, Carlos, I know we've kind of done our prospect updates, has been concerned about his average. What's kind of your thoughts on where he's at? Just got promoted to Chattanooga. It's going to be a really, really exciting lineup.
Yeah, Alan Cerda is. I love watching him play. He's a very fiery player. He's very flashy. He does everything very well, except for make contact, which in turn means he doesn't hit for much average. I think his strikeout rate is like 34% this season. It's not good. Now, I think that probably limits him to being a quality bench player / maybe starter sometimes when you don't have a different, better option. He walks a ton, but he strikes out a ton. And I think that when you do that in the minors, it's not the same as being, let's just say, like an Adam Dunn in the big leagues. It's very different. Big league pitchers generally aren't going to let you get away with that. But I think that he does everything else so well that it's hard to see him not being a quality fourth outfielder who, in some circumstances might be a guy that starts 50 or 60 times a year.
All right. One more thing from me, and then we'll get into a couple questions here, rapid fire, and get you out of here. Who's a player maybe that people who kind of follow the prospect list, at least, kind of casually, maybe that we don't know about that you think we should know about?
I'd say the guy that really catches my eye a lot is Carlos Jorge. He's down in Arizona right now. He was the best hitter on the Dominican Summer League Reds last year. He's hitting really well in Arizona this year. He's a bit undersized, so he wasn't a quote unquote big time prospect when he signed. I say that he got a pretty good signing bonus. I'm not going to say what it is for a few different reasons, but he did get a very quality signing bonus. But he's like 5'9", but I mean he's put together. He's very strong, very quick bat. He's a middle infielder, playing a lot more second base this year than shortstop, but it's not. I think it's because they've got multiple other quality shortstop options down in Arizona right now. I think that he's one of the guys to really keep an eye on if you're just more of a casual prospect follower. And I feel like it'd be silly for me to not mention Ricardo Cabrera. I think that if you're a hardcore follower, you know who that is. If not, he was the top signing internationally back in January by the Reds. One scout that I talked to thought that he was the top player in the entire international signing class this year. He had a really, really tough month of June. Struck out like 19 times and like 50 something at bats. He's been killing the ball in July. He's got like 4 strikeouts this entire month so far. Really big time tools in just it was almost like the flipped on a light when the calendar flipped, and he's just been crushing the ball. So I don't think that he'll make it stateside this year, but given the tools and the absolutely quick, massively different turnaround that he's shown in the last month, really like to say keep an eye on that guy.
All right, awesome. Let's run through a couple questions here. Carrick asks, will Joe Boyle join Ellie De La Cruz in Chattanooga?
I think that it's possible. I don't think it's going to happen right now. I think that the Reds do like the strides that Joe Boyle has made with his control this year, but it's still very bad control. He's still walking, I want to say, like 6 batters per 9 innings pitched. He had a start, I don't know if it was 2 starts ago or 3 starts ago, but he walked like 6 batters with 1 strikeout in like 2 innings. If you send a guy like that to Double-A and hitters are better there. They get the strike zone a lot better. They're not going to chase it. Even no matter how good his breaking ball is, they're not all going to chase it out of the zone like they would in A ball. I think that it just makes more sense to keep him there until he, takes that next step, whatever it happens to be, whenever it happens to be with his control. I think that right now, asking him to throw 4 or 5 innings in Double-A, that I feel like that'd be a big ask given his control issues.
All right, why is Jose Barrero not included on your list?
So this is where things get weird because all these prospect lists kind of have their own different criteria as to who is eligible. Like right now, Jose Barrero is eligible on Baseball America's list. He doesn't show up on many other lists because there's 3 things that make someone quote unquote a prospect. All of them revolve around being Rookie of the Year eligible for the next season. It's 50 at bats in the big leagues. 50 innings in the big leagues, 130 at bats, neither of which he has. He's not a pitcher, of course. He doesn't have 50 innings pitched. The other one is 45 days on the active roster. Some places take the time to count up those days. Some places don't. He's got exactly 45 days. He's not a prospect anymore. Baseball America doesn't count those days. They just go by innings pitched and at bats. So that's why he shows up on that list and not on a lot of others.
That makes sense. Thoughts on Matt McClain and his strikeout rate, and Mr. Juan is worried that he is no more than a utility player.
I mean, you don't like to see the strikeouts from a guy who was coming out of college touted as having a very great hit tool. That was kind of the biggest thing that Matt McClain had going for him, is that he had a very good hit tool. Solid power. Maybe he can play shortstop. If not, second base, third base, that's fine. Maybe he can move into center. But he's striking out over 30% of the time this year. Not really what you want to see out of him. If he does wind up being a utility player, I think there's plenty of value there because, again, I do think that he can play shortstop, second base, third base, center field. He's going to walk a decent amount of the time because he gets the strike zone. And I think he's shown more pop than people expected him to. Now, some of that maybe in Chattanooga it's a little bit hitter friendly for a ballpark, but
sounds like a Kyle Farmer in the making, if you ask me.
Yes, and we know how much Carlos loves Kyle Farmer. And yeah, if that's going to be the outcome for Matt McClain, there's nothing wrong with that. There's plenty of value to be had in a guy that can play 4 or 5 different positions and give you a quality at that, even if they're only going to hit 230 or 240, assuming of course they get on base along with those I guess with that low average.
Carrick asks, will any of the Arizona guys get promoted to Daytona?
You'll probably see a few of them. I'm not sure if it's going to be anybody who's quote unquote a big time prospect. In Arizona, you've got bigger rosters. You can manage playing time better. Like we were talking about earlier with Cam Collier, those guys that are being brought in that, are the new draft picks. They're not going to play every day right out of the gate. So you need to have, an everyday shortstop that can go out there and, back up your pitchers, instead of putting, a second baseman over at shortstop who lets routine ground balls get by them because they're not really a shortstop. But yeah, I don't know. It's tough to say because it all depends on exactly how the Reds want to handle the roster. And then, of course, injuries, performance, those things matter too. And maybe all of that changes in 3 weeks. Somebody could go out and pull an Ellie De La Cruz and hit 410 and slug 900 over the next 2 weeks. And, they decide, hey, we can't keep this kid here anymore.
DJ asks, is it fair to say the Reds development staff prioritizes stuff over control? And I'm guessing this is probably some of the major league roster, some of the Joe Boyle types, and my guy Richie Karcher, who is very fascinating to me at AAA.
Yeah, I don't think that everybody in the organization is on board with that, but I do think that some people are. I don't think there's necessarily something wrong with that. I think that there are limits, of course. You need a good mixture of stuff and control. The more stuff you have, the less control you need to get away with it. If you're throwing, 92 miles per hour and you don't have incredible movement with it, then you better be able to locate it. If you're throwing 103, you can get away with a little bit more. Now, if you're looking at the draft this year, I think that you can see some guys where, yeah, there's guys that they took that don't seem to have much control at all, but they've got real stuff. And so, it's one of those things where maybe you feel you can teach control a little bit better than you can improve a guy's stuff. Now, how true that is, I think that probably depends on the player. For one reason or another, some guys, they can improve their control. Some guys can't, or at least they can't to the point that they need to, while also maintaining their stuff.
A couple questions about Austin Hendrick. He's not on your list. I just saw him several times. He played in every game. Looked pretty rough from what I saw. Looked overmatched at times. I thought his defense was pretty good. I was kind of surprised at how solid of a right field he played. What do you think about Hendrick?
So I'll start with the defense. That is one of the things that, speaking to scouts this year, that they've noticed too. His defense is much better this year than it was last year. He got in better shape this offseason. So, he put in the work, and that side of his game has improved. Now, why he's not on my prospect list personally, you can't strike out 40% of the time in A ball and continue being on a prospect list. That's just way too much. You cannot be a big leaguer striking out that much. It's not going to happen. He would need to cut his strikeouts by 25% from where they are now to just be considered very poor at making contact.
Yeah. Well, we hope he can turn it around. We'll do one more last question here from Jim. Will Ellie De La Cruz be the future shortstop, or do you think they'll want to move him to a different position?
Assuming he doesn't outgrow the position, I think they want him at the position. Now, fortunately, shortstops generally, if they can hit, they can play pretty much anywhere else on the field. So if for whatever reason he outgrows the position, third base is an option. Second base is an option. He's got the speed. Maybe center field could be an option, depending on, again, how much he grows. But I think that, the Reds want him at shortstop, but he's not their only option there either. They've still got Jose Barrero in AAA who, whatever's going on there, he needs to figure it out. Same thing for Matt McLean. Now he's on the injured list in AA right now, but he's expected back soon. If Ellie passes them up, hey, that's their problem then. They had their opportunities, and sometimes somebody's just better than you. So we'll see
how Barrero projects as the best defensive shortstop though right now, right?
Yes, I would put them Barrero, Gap, De La Cruz, Gap, and then Matt McLean. I think that McLean can play shortstop, but if you've got a better option, you're going to go with that. And that's not a dig at Matt McLean necessarily. I think that he would be a below average shortstop, but somebody who can play there every day and you wouldn't notice it if somebody didn't tell you about it. He's just not a guy that's going to stand out defensively at the position, whereas I think that Jose Barrero definitely could. Whereas in Ellie, he's got an absolute cannon, and he's got better range than Matt McLean does too.
Imagine being a kid and 3-4 years from now going to a Reds and Pirates game, looking over at shortstop. You're like, Jesus, I'm never going to be able to play shortstop in the big leagues.
No. But, 6'2", and you're like the shortest dude in the history of the shortstops. Like, what's going on here? Used to be Cal Ripken was the complete crazy outlier at 6'4" at shortstop. Now you're kind of like, yeah, that's how big everybody is.
Well, very good. Well, Doug, thank you so much for your time. Thanks to everyone for all the questions. Really appreciate it. Good conversation there. You can find Doug Gray at RedsMinorLeagues.com and Redleg Nation, of course. Doug, you want to shout out anything else? Anything you're working on here before we get you out of here?
No, find me at those places.
Stuff up every day, every single day.
Doug's working on getting some sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be going to bed in about 6 hours, Carlos.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah.
Take care, guys. Thanks for having me on.
All right, good stuff from Doug. Oh, see if I can do this right. There we go. All right, so that was Doug Gray. What's your thoughts on the draft, Carlos?
No need for it to be 3 days. What the hell is going on?
They got to drag it
I
out.
don't know. I kind of like they took that shortstop from Texas. He's probably really the only guy I saw the whole time play. He struck out a lot too, but he's got some potential there. He already carries himself like a big leaguer, so that's kind of what I was excited about when I first saw him at the beginning of this year.
Very good. All right, well let's talk about the big league club. We did get some questions. We'll get to those here in just a second. So the Reds get to the All-Star break in 5th place, just a half game behind the Cubs. Those pesky Cubs just keep barely outpacing our Reds. Carlos, so obviously, not the first half we all wanted. What are you looking forward to most here in the second half of the season?
I guess kind of figuring out the direction that the organization is going to go with. Number one, see what they're going to do, what they're going to trade, who they're going to get. I think that'll kind of give us a picture of what to expect next year and maybe the year afterwards. But just the development, the continued growth of those 3 starting pitchers, because they each have a lot to grow on. So that's what I'm most excited to see. Then Jonathan India, I really like to see a good second half from him to go into next year, something to be positive about. I mean, I think if Joey can come back and be healthy, see him play well, obviously that would be nice. But I don't know. There's a lot of different things we could pick apart and look at and want to kind of be excited for.
Yeah, I mean the play of India and Senzel and then the young starters. I mean, that's going to really probably determine how enjoyable the second half is or not. I mean, I don't even necessarily think the Reds necessarily have to play really well or play even 500 baseball. But if those guys are playing well, I think it would definitely I hate to use the word positive momentum because it got so torn apart.
This is like a minor league season now. Like the wins and losses don't matter.
Yeah.
You just want to see these players develop and have good individual success and, mixing a cool story here and there.
Yeah. All right. So Luis Castillo pitched last night at the All-Star game, pitched brilliantly, has just been pitching out of this world. The last 4 starts, a ERA of 1.00. Carlos, what are you seeing out of Luis Castillo right now that's just making him so dominant?
It's just a man that knows what he wants to do with a baseball. With every pitch, it's every pitch is thrown with conviction. He's got a plan, and he's on a mission just to prove how good he is and and what he's worth.
Yeah. Latest trade rumors. If you're watching, you can see there's a lot of teams. I mean, pretty much any team that is in contention is interested in Castillo. I think the Astros were the new one that I saw this week that wasn't on there before. Seems like probably the Yankees are the front runners. I actually saw a betting site had something on it that had the Yankees as the
front runners on everybody.
Yeah. Well, I feel like especially with Castillo, just because they have a bigger need for pitching than the other elite teams, I feel. And then having Matt Carpenter publicly say, "Bring us this guy." Like, have you ever heard? Have you ever heard that before? No.
Yeah.
After the game, Matt Carpenter played for the Cardinals for forever and has faced Castillo a lot. Said that was the best he's ever seen Luis Castillo look. Which, I mean, it tracks based on the way he's pitching. And then he said, "Yeah, I really hope we trade for him." That was something. So yeah, I mean, we'll be watching this closely. They're gonna trade him, right? I mean, I feel like it's. I would be absolutely stunned if they did not trade him.
I have no idea, man. I would think that they are. I would lean they are. I guess if I was betting, but it would be a tough decision to lay down money on either side because.
So you think there's a chance they keep him?
Yeah, I don't know what the hell these ownership and Crawl's gonna do. You can't. There's no way that we can trust anything that they've said. So I'm like, I think they're gonna do this, but I'm not gonna spend too much money on it.
Well, they in fairness, they actually have not said anything about what they're doing with Castillo. So, that's all speculation. But yeah, I would be shocked. I think I'm probably more confident that Malik.
Would you be mad?
Would I be mad if the Reds did not trade Luis Castillo? Yeah,
that's a yes. Yes.
I would be disappointed. I mean, you got to see what else is out there. There's different directions things could go. Did they not get enough of an offer? I can't see any way like they get a bigger offer in the off season. I don't see any way how they're going to choose to spend enough to make 2023 competitive enough to warrant keeping him. And I don't think he's a good guy to sign at 31 years old to a 6-7 year deal. So yeah, I mean, I don't none of those paths really shake out for me. So yeah, I would be pretty disappointed.
Second question on him for you. Do you think he's going to have a better back half of his career than Johnny Cueto? Equal or worse? Because I think he projects to have a better one.
Well, I don't think Cueto really had a great back end of his career. I mean, I think he'll probably pitch well again, but when Steven Strasburg was signed to an extension, like, anyone think he was gonna never pitch again? That's what. I don't know the best way to say this, but I'll do my best here. You can either keep Castillo and try to extend him, which again, one thing you gotta mention here is we have no idea if extending Luis Castillo is even a realistic possibility. None of us know. So, I mean, if of course, I'm sure anyone would agree that if anyone reasonable would agree, if Luis Castillo has made it pretty clear that there's no way the Reds are going to be able to extend him, like, then you have to trade him, right? Like, so that's
maybe he doesn't even want to be here. We haven't even talked about that.
Yeah. I'm just saying that's a possibility. I have absolutely no idea. But let's assume like there's a realistic chance. Here's how I view it. If you trade Luis Castillo and you get prospects that you think are really good, and none of them pan out, like it's like the Johnny Cueto trade, and they all are busts. Yeah, it stinks, but you're not having a bad contract. If you sign Luis Castillo and it turns out to be a bad contract, like some of these other pitchers like Strasburg or David Price or the list goes on and on. The Reds aren't going to spend their way out of it. So you're looking at like another like rebuild. So that's kind of where I kind of get, I just, scared off of it. I don't see a way that it makes sense for the Reds that risking that much for the Reds. Just because if it flops, man, I don't know. And honestly, the Reds, I mean, for the most part, the players that they haven't extended, that seems like the one thing they've probably done right. There hasn't been many guys that they've let go that have, really gone on to have these big illustrious careers, and you're like, oh man, they should have kept him, right? I mean, like they've had some bad returns, that's for sure. They made some bad signings, but the players they haven't, gone, uh, uh, haven't extended, most part looks pretty good, but we'll see. Well, if Luis Castillo is traded, we'll try to get an emergency show up. So we'll just stay tuned on that. All right, let's look at kind of the rest of the upcoming free agents and whatnot. We've kind of talked about this a little bit before. I feel like some things have changed a little bit. Donovan Solano has been playing really, really well, so that's maybe changed my mind a little bit on him. I feel like Luis Castillo is the one definite. Do you think there's any definites? Do you still think Tommy Pham's a definite he's going to get traded?
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, not just because I don't really care for the guy, but what's the point of keeping him around? For what?
Yeah. I would say Castillo and probably Brandon Drury is probably pretty close to a definite. You feel kind of the same with him?
Brandon Drury, I think it's more hopeful, but maybe they might try to offer him an extra year or two, maybe, because that's what you're going to be looking for in the offseason, right? Is Brandon Drury?
Yeah.
I mean, what's $2 million?
Well, I guess it depends what teams are offering for him, really.
Yeah, because I mean, it's not going to be a fringe prospect.
I don't know. I went on a Guardians podcast, and they were the guy was thinking like, yeah, maybe we'd give up like the 10 to 20 range, and I was like, they have a really good system too. So it's like, man, I don't know. I guess it just depends what he's.
Yeah, Hunter Strickland. Nobody's taking him.
I don't think so. I mean, I think the next group. I mean, I think Naquin, Solano, Malley for sure, Farmer. I think those guys are. The Reds I would put them in the group that I think the Reds would like to move, but they don't feel they have to. I don't know. Tyler Naquin, kind of think you probably have to move him. I just, I don't see like an extension with him or anything. I think Tyler Naquin's been an awesome pickup. But why would you want to give him at bats in August and September? I don't.
Right.
I don't necessarily see that. So yeah. And then Jeff Hoffman, actually, on the Guardians podcast, I was asked about him. I was like, I mean, I guess someone would offer something substantial, but I don't think the Reds are going to be just giving away bullpen arms at this point. Like any able-bodied person, they're going to want to throw innings. So that's like the one area I think they'd prefer to just to keep a guy that they don't even necessarily see in their future plans just to survive this season.
Yeah.
All right, so let's run through the pitching first. I want you, Carlos, give me your most impressive pitcher and maybe your most disappointed as well so far this season.
The most impressive. I mean, Luis has been the best, but it's kind of expected. So I'd say probably Graham Ashcraft's been the most impressive. I really didn't expect a whole lot from him. I'm still kind of, iffy about him whenever, players or teams start seeing him, multiple times through. But what he's done so far has been great. Kind of disappointed with Hunter Green. I thought that we would get a little bit more consistency out of him. I thought his changeup would be used a whole lot more than what it has. I don't know, but at the same time, I mean, he's very, very young. But I still, with all the buzz and everything, I thought we would get a better rookie performance out of him. We'll see how he how he ends up.
Yeah, I was surprised that Ashcraft's been the best of the 3 young rookie pitchers. He's been impressive. I'm with you. I'm starting the first game of the second half. I'm very interested to see, what he looks like as teams kind of get more film on him, get more comfortable with him. So I was probably between him and then Alexis Diaz has just been, absolutely electric and, really feel good about his long-term, chances with the team. I don't know, maybe most disappointed. I don't know if I'm necessarily disappointed with Hunter Green just because he's 22 or no, yeah, 22. I mean, he's so young.
It is, but at the same time, it was like all the hype and all the guys that have been having hype
Yeah.
have done well.
But there's not at that age though. There's not many that have done it.
Really.
There's only like
Still all the
5.
hype.
There's only like 5 pitchers that have like 50 innings. I think that are that age or younger this year. So I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm just too nice on that. But I guess maybe most disappointed probably is honestly like Sessa. I thought he was going to be at least a really quality kind of, not necessarily an innings eater, but maybe like whatever the next step of that is, and hasn't been able to provide any quality innings. I know he's been hurt as well. So, yeah. All right, let's move on to the offense. I mean, I guess the most impressive is probably pretty obvious here, right? Brandon Drury. I mean, Tyler Stevenson as well. I mean, has been really, really good as well. Any other like most impressive on your list?
No, sir.
All right. And who's been your
Actually, Nick Senzel as of late.
Yeah.
Impressive.
Yeah, I mean, still an 81 weighted plus on the season. But he has been really, really good of late, and a good, healthy second half from Nick Senzel would go a long way to making a lot of us feel a lot better about things.
Yeah.
Most disappointed. I mean, I know Joey's had a disappointing first half, but coming into the year, I mean, I didn't know what to expect out of him. Like I thought he would hit well. And I know he's looked better of late too. But I don't think I'd put him as like my most. I think it's India for me. Just rookie of the year. Only has a 76 weighted plus. I have no idea how he has worse wins above replacement than Joey. With I can't believe how bad his defense is. Like I'm disappointed there hasn't been any improvement there. And I think there's got to be some conversations about moving him to third base or something. I mean, I don't think in the middle of the season, but yeah, I mean, I really hope that he has a big second half. Another thing that would really kind of make us feel better going forward.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say my biggest disappointment is Joey, just because knowing how motivated he was and how he was just looking forward to it so much, and he said he was expecting big numbers, and we all know he's not just talking when he says that stuff. And then the whole bat situation, that messed with him for a while, and then getting COVID, and then it's just his back. It's just wasn't a good half. Hopefully, he can get some rest, heal that back up, and finish strong. And so that way we can pencil him in the lineup for next year.
Yeah. All right, so here is what is ahead for the Reds. They're going to go with Ashcraft, Minor, and Malley. Your boys will be down at Great American Ballpark this weekend, so if you dare, come say hello. We'll take a selfie with you.
Come buy me a beer.
Buy
bastards.
Buy Carlos a beer. Yeah. So, how ecstatic are you about? Have you ever seen Mike Minor pitch in person? I haven't. No, I think I have. I think I saw him pitch for the Braves, like back in 2014.
Odds are I probably won't, because I know there's going to be several, folks coming to the game Saturday, so we'll probably be doing a lot of walking around the concourse.
Well, Stephen Matz is having a rough year too, so that might be maybe that'll be a 10-9 win for the Redlegs. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I saw Mike Minor. I know I went to a 4-game sweep. I went to every single game, so I'm assuming he probably pitched one of those games.
And Friday, Andy Sabo.
Yeah, Rex Beck season. Yeah. And then we did get a question that I did want to kind of get as we're kind of looking through the schedule here. Friday through Sunday are set in stone. The rest is just how Fangraphs filled it out. I have a feeling the Reds might push Luis Castillo back to Wednesday and have Green and Lodolo go first. Kind of gives them more time to potentially trade him before he has to start again. I mean, at this point in the season, if you are indeed looking to trade someone, you don't really like seeing them pitch because, if that's your goal, they get hurt. There's, trade deadlines in like 12 days. So there's not enough time to go on the IL and come back. So
how nervous are you going to be every inning that he throws?
I was terrified listening to the radio on my way back from the Dragons game when he was like at 105 pitches or whatever.
Oh gosh, you probably have to pull over.
That would be worse than any loss this year if he got hurt. That would be a million times worse. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, Jackson asked. I mean, I would say he wouldn't have started probably till Sunday. I don't think typically a guy that pitches in the All-Star game usually starts until Sunday. I mean, I know they kind of call it like a bullpen. I don't know. You could speak more to that than me. I don't see many guys that pitch in the All-Star game starting on Friday or Saturday, right?
No, I don't think so. No, because it's definitely more than a bullpen.
Yeah.
Because you've been warming up.
Yeah, and I'm not sure. I'm sure Malley probably on Sunday was strategically placed as well.
Did he go on the IL?
Yeah, he was on the IL with the, I don't know, fatigue or whatever. I think it was just a get right IL situation. But yeah, it'll be interesting. Again, if Luis is pushed back to Wednesday and he does make that start, it's not often that pitchers are traded like 4 days before the trade deadline. So I mean, he probably will make one more start. But if it's Wednesday, that would be it because there's not enough, unless they're bumping someone out of the 6-man rotation and having a pitch the day before the trade deadline, which would be wild. But yeah, kind of feels like almost the Cubs last year. Remember watching that Cubs series and and they were trading everyone. We're on the opposite end. Let's get through a couple questions here. We get some good questions. We're kind of bouncing around because we had Doug on. Favorite destination for Castillo or Malley, maybe the Twins. That's kind of an interesting one. I would love for either one of those guys to go to one of the more like the Twins or the Guardians or the Blue Jays or maybe not
or the Padres.
The Padres. I'll say it and probably get booted from my own show, but if I could pick where Luis Castillo would go, it'd be the Cardinals. Take some of their prospects. That kill 2 birds with one stone.
Oh my gosh. You're out of here.
Take their prospects.
Kidding me?
The Reds are competing this year. Take their prospects. They can, make them.
The Cardinals will sign them long term.
Nah, Cardinals don't sign pitchers long term.
Oh my gosh, although I did ask that question. Who did I ask? Clay, I think it was. I was just trying to get Twitter going, but nobody bit.
I would love it. I'm all for it. So, and then Justin Dunn's still hanging out there. He's going to make another start after the.
I really want to see him pitch.
Yeah, I'm excited to see him. Any new pitcher with upside is exciting at this stage of the season. But yeah, we got some good conversation in the chat with some different offers. We won't get into all that. But the trade deadline is August 2nd, and it's at 6 p.m., which is just, I feel like they did it intentionally. So it'd be right during, like dinner time with the kids, which I feel like is really rude. So Nick Kroll, if you're listening, which I know you tune in every week, try to get some trades done before my kids get home from daycare so I can kind of get in on it. All right. I would really, really, really appreciate that. Hey, Carrick's with me. Carrick likes to the Cardinals. Oh, here you go. Here you go, Carlos. To the Mariners.
Oh, Oh, my Mariners, baby. Time to rise up.
Like like the Giants, like just taking all the extras, and the Nationals back in the day, they had like a whole Reds team.
Hey, you know what we need in the World Series is Mariners, Dodgers, just for the 4K video they provide from their stadiums.
Yeah, but they don't have home team broadcast in the World Series.
Oh shit, you're right.
I think
Never mind. Edit that out.
I think Fox did it in 4K though last year.
Did they?
I think Fox did like the LCS.
You're right, because the All-Star game was in 4K.
Yeah, so I think we'll get some 4K.
Let's go ahead and edit that out, will you?
Yeah, let's edit out on the live show. That'll work. All right, last thing here, the schedule. Any series you're looking forward to coming up, Carlos?
This one this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited to see the Orioles next week. They're kind of been a fun team that's been playing well.
They got cool uniforms.
I wish it was there. I would love to kind of watch a game at Camden Yards. It's a cool stadium, but yeah, looking forward to that. All right, well, Carlos, you got any other fine words of wisdom on this Wednesday?
No, I don't. Other than we'll be at the games this weekend. Hit us up.
Yeah, definitely.
You guys want to have a beer after the game? We'll be hanging out, baby.
All right, very good. All right, well, again, want to make sure we mention Black River Baseball Cards. Thanks for your support of Late Night Reds Talk Live. Head on over to their website, Black River Baseball Cards, or blackrivercards.ecrater.com. Check them out. Tell them that Late Night Reds Talk sent you. Late Night Reds Talk, as always, is presented by Bet Online. If you have a minute, take a chance to go subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever the heck you get podcasts. We would really appreciate it. We will be back next week after the Reds and Marlins get it on, and we'll be real close to the trade deadline. And like we said earlier, if any massive news breaks, we'll try to get an emergency show up for you. So for Carlos, I'm Nick. Have a great week.
Happy 69th episode.